All right, what's up, guys? And boy, do we have a long one today. So, there is quite a story associated with this kit. And some of you may have heard about this already in a couple of other videos that I've done, but I'm going to tell the full story in detail here where it matters in the review of the actual kit in question. So, this is going to be a review, of course, of the Kotobukiya HMM Psycho Genosaur. And so, a little bit of history about my personal experience with this kit. So I originally ordered this off of a member of the group who was selling off some unbuilt HMMs back around December of 2017. And so I've had this in my backlog for a while. I got it at the exact same time as the HMM Cannon Tortoise and the HMM Gun Sniper Naomi special. I almost couldn't remember her name there. Shame on me. And which has since gone to Jeff, its new owner, who hopefully he's built it by now and he can give me some review footage. So I finally got around to building this one after, of course, moving in the new house, getting through the Leon Blade Liger. And when I opened the box and I looked at the pieces inside when I first got it, I didn't think much of it. I said, okay, everything's still sealed. Everything looks like it's here. No big deal. Then I go to actually build it this past summer. And I take all the pieces out, and I am absolutely horrified with what I find at the bottom of the box. So, this kit evidently had succumbed to either poor storage or water damage or something of that nature, because the entire bottom of the box was just caked in dirt, mold, and bugs. And the instruction manual was completely destroyed. And so I said, this is like a hazardous, like hazmat situation. I don't even want to touch this instruction manual. It's water damaged. The pages are stuck together. This instruction manual is completely useless. So I took out all of the bags with the runners and the individual pages of pieces in them. Took those out. The ones closer to the bottom, I washed them. I opened the plastic, threw the plastic away so that the pieces were thankfully preserved on the inside, and threw away the entire bottom of the box with the instruction manual. And I don't have the pictures of it anymore, else I would show it here in this video. But I did post those pictures in the Zoids Collectors group when this happened, and everybody was pretty shocked. So luckily, I've got some friends in the community that help me out. And so my friend Brad, who I've mentioned on the channel before, who's responsible with some of the kits that I've acquired recently that I've reviewed, he has two HMM Genosaurs. He has the Bone Genosaur, which we'll talk about, and he also has this exact kit itself. So he was able to lend me his copy of the instruction manual, and I was able to build it without a problem. And so fast forward to earlier this week, I managed to complete the entire thing 100%, every single piece, not a single thing missing, not a single thing dirty or contaminated, not a single piece had to go to waste. And so after all that trouble with getting this thing going, I finally managed to completely finish it, and it's 100% complete and no hazmat scares there. So I'm quite grateful for that, and I should be that much more grateful of it because in the amount of time that passed from December of 2017 until now, the price of this thing has absolutely skyrocketed. And I don't remember what I paid for it back then. It was probably less than $100. But now this thing sells on the secondhand market unbuilt for between $400 to $600. And actually, just before this video, before I started recording, I was pulling up some information on the kit, and I saw an eBay auction for over $800 on this kit. And so by doing this video, I'm not trying to flex and say, oh, look what I have this rare kit. But I got it just by coincidence. Someone happened to be selling it before it got bought out on the secondary market by a bunch of dirty scalpers. So if you're one of the people that did that, shame on you. And if you're one of the people that would like this kit and can't because now it's too expensive, I'm very sorry to hear that. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into it. So this is the Psycho Genosaur. Let's talk about it a little bit in terms of lore. So obviously the Genosaur is the staple rival antagonist Zoid of Chaotic Century. It was famously seen, of course, piloted by Raven. This particular Genosaur, the Psycho Genosaur, was piloted by a character named Reese, who is introduced in the Guardian Force season. And she's a bit of a weird anomaly. Reese is also an ancient Zoidian, just like Fiona, and she has her own organoid, the blue one down here, which we actually do have a little minifigure of, and his name is Specular. Reese and Hiltz are sort of this weird rogue duo that go around trying to interfere in the main plot of the story. And at first they come across a bit of antagonists, especially considering they have, the bad guy Zoid. But later on, when Hiltz actually goes rogue, Reese sort of takes up this sort of allyship role where she's helping out the main characters with the plot. She actually has a lot to do with Raven and revealing a lot of his significance in the story to him and what his true destiny would be like. And unfortunately, the Psycho Genosaur was destroyed by the Death Stinger, if I remember correctly, which is a shame. So after the Psycho Genosaur is destroyed, Reese is kind of just in the background as a supporting role. And she ends up kind of just allying herself with the good guys before the end of the story, before Raven, of course, just disappears at the end. In terms of the Zoids capabilities itself, the Psycho Genosaur is essentially the same as a regular stock Genosaur, although it does have some missile pods on the side, as you can see. And something slightly different about its appearance is these fins on the top of its head are a little bit different than your regular Genosaur as well. I would talk a little bit more about the history of the Genosaur and the battle story, but I think we'll save that for in case we ever do a video on the base Genosaur or the Raven version, which kind of brings me into the history of the model kits. So originally there was a Genosaur motorized kit that was released in the NJR line, the Takara Tomy line from the anime, and that kit was never localized under the Hasbro license. Weirdly enough, there is a motorized Genosaur that was released in Europe that still was under the Tomy license, but it has packaging very similar to the Hasbro kits. And so that's out there floating around. It's very expensive. Then, of course, after 2006, when the HMM line started coming in, one of the first kits we got was the HMM Genosaur, which was in the standard very, very dark blue and purple. And then we got a couple other variants. We got the Genosaur Raven version, which supplemented the dark purple accent color for a red color, which would be sort of Raven's signature color scheme for the Genosaur. And then we got this one, which, of course, like I said, the only difference in terms of the model kit is the missile pods on the side, the head, and then the color itself. The Psycho Genosaur famously being in this, what would you say, Michelle? Is that like a violet color?
Oh, what?
Is it like violet and purple? What would you call that?
That's purple and blue.
Purple and blue. I mean, it's also exposed to a lot of light. I'm using a slightly warmer color for the light for this video. The light that's actually facing the kid directly is a slightly warmer light. But yeah, this one, I don't think it was a limited print run, but as you can see on the box, it is for the 30th anniversary of Zoids, so to speak. And then finally, in 2020, we got a reissue, a repackaged version of just the bog standard Genosaur. And I showcased that in a couple of Market Watch videos, and then regrettably, it was also bought out on the secondary market and is now difficult and expensive to find, which is a real shame. Again, if you were one of the people that did that, shame on you. There, at this very moment, is not a Genosaur that is easy to find and accessible on the secondary market, which is unfortunate. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to the kit itself. And obviously, as well, if you wanted to do like a custom Genosaur, you could always get the Genobreaker kit, which has the same dinosaur body underneath, but with extra crap attached to it. And of course, it doesn't have the gun on top, which we'll talk about. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the kit itself. So, a couple things that stand out about the Psycho Genosaur, of course, is it does have the sort of minifigures. It has a pilot Reese figure, which is in the sort of cockpit canopy right here in the chest. So, basically how this works is there's a part that folds down like that, and then this whole thing slides out. I'm not going to actually do it on screen, but it reveals the Zoid core behind it that's deep inside the chest, and you can actually see the feet of the little minifigure sticking out right there. I find it interesting that the cockpit on the dinosaur-type Zoids is in the chest and not in the head, which I guess makes sense, and it also means that, in theory, this thing could still operate with its head missing, although I don't want to imagine what that would look like. So we also have two minifigures that I have kept in a plastic bag, and I'm probably not going to display those for fear of losing them because they're only like that big. But it has two minifigures of Reese and Hiltz, as well as two minifigures of Reese and Hiltz's organoids, which, unfortunately, when I got everything out of the box, the leg here on specular broke off and I had to glue it back on, which thankfully the glue held. I was able to show that off on video here. And these minifigures as well go missing so often that they're very sought after on the secondary market. I think the Raven and Shadow minifigures are particularly expensive for people that own the Genosaur Raven version or the Geno Breaker Raven version. In terms of the build complexity of this guy, this was actually one of my favorite HMM builds that I've done so far. Really, the challenging part, and I'll get into this, was with the tail. So not only is the tail absurdly long, but each one of these segments of the tail back here is essentially built the exact same way. But the challenging part, of course, you have all these articulated pieces that are meant to flare out when it gets ready to do the charged particle beam. I'm trying to figure out a way to reach this without the messing with the light. But yeah, all these fins pop out, and then underneath of them is two smaller fins that pop out. And lining up those two smaller fins like that is such a pain in the ass. And so that was the majority of the challenge for building this one, was lining up those little fins in there. And Brad told me the same thing when he gave me the instruction manual. He said, you're going to have to be wary of that, because that's the one thing that's going to be the biggest challenge with building this one, is when it gets to be the... Oh, and I popped that piece off there. That's a shame. But when we get to the smaller ends of the tail like that, those little fins that pop out become notoriously difficult to line up and snap in. So when it comes to building this guy, I really recommend, if you want to take a break, if you're not going to do the whole thing in one sitting, which you're probably not because you're looking at several hours at that rate, take a break at the tail. And then if you do everything from the tail to the end in one sitting, it will go by very, very quickly. I was actually very impressed by how easy the torso was to assemble. And of course, because it's a dinosaur type, it's got these dinky little arms that don't do a whole lot, which were very easy to assemble. Notably, the claws here are exceptionally sharp. So this is definitely not something that is safe for children at all, because these are very pointy. And of course, they're not nested in there with any kind of snapped piece that fits in there. It's actually just kind of resting in there on a little peg. And the kit comes with a longer version of that peg to simulate the attack that the Genosaur has when it shoots out its claws on that electrified cable and latches onto an enemy Zoid and electrocutes them. And so I think that's pretty cool. Maybe at some point I'll do some poses, some pictures with the extended claw reach there. Again, the feet were really nice. It's got these nice wide hips that kind of help keep it stable, especially when it's doing, like I said, the charged particle beam thing. The thing I like about it the most in terms of the color scheme and just the quality of the plastic and everything is all of this molded in silver plastic that just looks so much better. They could have just done it as a matte gray. I mean, I know a lot of people complain about the colors that these things come in by default, because as model builders, I guess they expect you to go and add your own custom paint applications. But there's a lot that's actually in metallic silver pre-built onto the kit. You can see it there on the teeth, on the gears there, and on the assembly of the weapon up here, which of course is the long-range pulse cannon, which, as I have remarked in the GameCube games, is a very effective weapon, and one of the reasons why I actually prefer the Genosaur over the Geno Breaker in those games, because you need a good long-range weapon, and the Genosaur has an excellent one here. And I actually wonder if I could put this weapon on any of the other HMM kits, because it does look really nice. Also, the missile pods right here have... They have translucent plastic that goes inside of them for this part right here, and also some translucent parts on the side. The box art shows, you can see on this side right here, where you would use the blue translucent plastic for the side and the pink translucent plastic for the side vents there. But I actually just alternated the two, because otherwise those other pieces would have gone to waste. And so this missile pod right here has all blue translucent plastic, whereas this one over here has the all red or pink or whatever you want to call it. So, and also I like as well how those pieces just essentially, you could attach those weapons to literally any other Zoid, because they just kind of pop out like that. So, I'm not going to get into too much of the articulation or anything like that, but I've seen some really cool poses with this guy. Again, when you get the head parallel with the tail, you can do the whole charged particle beam thing, and it does have the actual little gun barrel in the mouth with a little rifling and everything, so that does look really cool. So it's kind of hard to give this guy a recommendation considering that it practically doesn't exist anymore and is incredibly hard to find, but I can definitely speak to its quality. I mean, it is nice. Do not pay the asking prices that are online for right now. I think it's absolutely absurd the amount of money that this thing has been bought out for. Same thing with really all of the Genosaurs. The one that I think is the most inexpensive is the original, the generic one. But the Raven version and this version are just insanely expensive, and honestly, we're probably overdue for some kind of reissue. So maybe if we got this one reissued, that would be a good thing. But other than that, I would definitely not pay those prices at all. We have some more articulated bits pretty much all over this thing. I don't think the bottom one comes out here, but on its neck, and all over the tail for the charged particle beam. So, but yeah, there's also something I wanted to point out as well about the amount of translucent plastic on this. So I think there's some translucent plastic that goes on the barrels up here, and then the eyes are translucent plastic, and there's a clear piece of clear translucent plastic that goes over the eyes, sort of as a protective barrier, and that looks really cool as well. Kind of accentuates the color of it underneath. So, but yeah, that's about it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. We have just finished building the other kit I got from this same guy, which of course is the HMM Cannon Tortoise. Let's do a little size comparison there. We'll put the little Cannon Tortoise beside it there, and as you can see, the size of this thing is pretty impressive. I probably should have brought the Blade Liger in here to do a size comparison with that, because they are sort of like rivals, but I've got a couple of good ideas for comparison, so we'll do that. And then I've actually got the Hasbro Geno Breaker, kind of give you guys an idea of the scale as well. And interestingly enough about the Geno Breaker, at least the Hasbro version, is that I cannot fit it on this stand, is that the tail is actually smaller, and I can't really illustrate that, but in terms of height, they're similar. The head is about the same size, but of course, with the HMM versions, they've definitely tried to rescale some of the elements of it. So we do have the HMM Geno Breaker. One day we'll build that, and I'll be able to show off the difference. Of course, the Geno Breaker has the blade on the head where the Genosaur does not, and this guy's very dusty. I need to clean him off really well. He's dusty from the previous owner, the same previous owner that brought us the Death Saurer. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time with the HMM Cannon Tortoise. Do you guys miss the gaming content I used to do on this channel? Did you guys know this is actually my second channel? My wife Michelle and I over on the primary Star-Crossed Souls channel do gaming content as well as content about conventions and cosplay, and some of the niche fandoms we're into, such as Fire Emblem, Fate, and Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm also doing a retrospective series on the entire Type Moon series and all of the Fate works. It's a series I'm very proud of and has the highest amount of editing and production quality in anything I've ever done in my entire career of making videos. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, make sure to follow us on the main Star-Crossed Souls channel, and follow Michelle and I on Instagram for her art projects and my cosplay projects. I'll see you guys next time.